nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And it's worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First great podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. We are live in Toronto. We're recording this shortly after Real Madrid beat Girona 3-0 away from home. Welcome, guys, tuning in. Welcome, Mehdi Hassan, who is here right next to me in person, in flesh. First thing is first, we wanted to say thank you and show a lot of gratitude to everybody who came out to our podcast in Toronto last night. I cannot imagine if you live in this city or in this province and you decided not to come to our event. Yeah. We played football for quite a bit, some good skillful players out there.
Yes.
And then we went into another room. We recorded a very awesome therapy session that is now up on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thank you, everyone who came out. I also wanted to give a quick special thank you to TAFC Academy, who sponsored the event. Go to tacsports.ca. You can see the link right below if you're on YouTube. If you have any children you want to enroll into an academy, those guys are the guys you want to enroll your kids into, because their academy was fantastic. The facilities were fantastic. Staff were incredibly kind and helpful. tacsports.ca. Also, as always, a shout out to Moji Mates. Today we're rocking Cristiano Ronaldo, Manchester United, but on the sleeve we got Sporting, number 9 Ronaldo, noodle hair Ronaldo. If you want this and a ton more, go to moji-mates.com. Use code MM15 off for a 15% discount. Thank you guys again for coming out to our Toronto event. We're here, El Dia Después. We're in Toronto again. I leave tomorrow morning. Got to take advantage with me being in town to record together, Mehdi.
And before beginning the podcast, thank you two as well, from all the Toronto people, for coming down here and doing this. We love doing this whenever you're in Toronto. It's a great experience, as it was yesterday. And it's good game. 3-0 win. Couldn't have asked for anything more, I guess.
Yeah, and before we get into the game, we should also mention that we love this city so much that we've already started to get underway on a pre-Clasico event.
Yes, exactly.
Because the next Clasico is in the Montjuic, in the league. And I'm talking about league Clasicos, obviously. I'm not sure if we're going to play them in the Spanish Super Cup in Saudi, but we're going to do a pre-Clasico event in Toronto. So it's in the works. So make sure you
if you
pencil it into yours. Don't miss this one if you miss the last one.
Exactly.
All right, Girona, Real Madrid. You and I watched this game together. Yep. It was nice because by the time the third goal went in, it was a training exercise at that point, passing it around, killing time, which is how you should close out games. So that was nice. I mean, it would have been nice to have gotten another Mbappe goal, possibly a hat trick or an Endrick goal, but that didn't happen. We got an Arda goal, one more for the Arda Güler agenda. Not his best game, but a great finish. So what stood out to you? Where do you want to start?
So I think we can start with the starting lineup, of course. Tchouameni is starting as the center back again. Asensio was he rested or benched? We were discussing it offline while we were watching the game. So that's the talking point, of course, that if now Tchouameni is fit, does that mean that Asensio doesn't get into the starting lineup anymore? Especially, I think the acid test will be the next game. We'll definitely know if next game Tchouameni is starting at center back again. I think that's going to continue pretty much until the end of the season, provided Tchouameni himself or Rudiger doesn't get injured, because I'm just not confident that Alaba would be trusted with any significant minutes, even when he comes back. It would be kind of like the Militao situation, how it was last season for Militao whenever Alaba does return.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's good to have the Asensio insurance policy, even if Alaba does come back. The other talking point was Ceballos not starting. I was a little bit surprised at that because he, along with Jude, I think was our best player in the last couple of games, at least except the Girona game. He seemed like the only one who could bring the ball out from the back under pressure. But eventually he did have to come onto the pitch, and that's the next talking point is what has actually happened to Jude, because he has been in such great vein of form, goal and assist once again, and then he had to go off injured. We don't know yet what's the extent of it. So those were my key takeaways from the game, I would say.
So in the second half, we saw multiple players go down
Mendy
injured.
as well.
So Bellingham, Mendy, and then obviously to a much lesser extent, because there was a moment where we were on a different tab. We weren't watching the game, and I was setting up this stream, and then all of a sudden you hear Dani Ceballos scream at the top of his lungs. You're like, oh shit! We switched the tab, and turns out Ceballos was okay, and he got up right away. But I felt like oddly, Endrick was the other one who was possibly a concussion. We'll see. I felt nothing watching those injuries because we're so desensitized to players going down. But the one that actually kind of rocked my soul and made me sick to my stomach was Jude, obviously. Yes. And hopefully, and Guillermo Raya of The Athletic was reporting that he had told Carlo as he was coming off that it was an issue. He had discomfort in his abductor. So we'll see. But I hope, rather, that it was just a precaution, nothing else. He was incredible again today.
Yes.
He's been our best player this season. It's just everything that we've said so many times throughout the season. He comes back, it's copy and paste. Moves between the lines, receives the ball, plays a progressive pass, attacks crosses, attacks rebounds, plays defense, defends in transition. He wasn't playing as deep today, right? But maybe we can start with Bellingham. I think he was fantastic tonight.
Bellingham was absolutely fantastic. And so you see, he is this player who is adapting him into situations wherever the team needs him and delivering, like even this season. Last season, he was given a specific role just behind the striker, and he scored so many goals. This season, with Cruz going out, he was obviously naturally pulled back a little bit, and his goal scoring numbers suffered at the beginning of the season. He was like at a dry patch. Now it's his fifth, I think, consecutive game where he has scored, and he's also contributing with assists as well. So any like even short-term injury to Bellingham or Vinicius is just not good at this point in time, because Barcelona has given us a chance to get back into this league title race, which many of us, I think, probably justifiably at that time saw an end to it in October because we were so far behind, especially after losing the Clásico. So yeah, anything to Jude or Vinicius is terrible right now. But Jude, I think, got the man of the match award as well. Quite deserved, I would say. And quick request to listeners and viewers: if you're getting our audio okay or any issues, please do let us know in the comments so that we can rectify that on the go. We do have a quote from Carlo about the center back situation. He did mention that it was a short-term choice for Tchouameni, and he did, put some praise on Asensio that he was a bit tired. So it will be interesting, actually, as I was just alluding to, what does he, choose against Atalanta? But that's for Atalanta, basically.
I think we'll see. I mean, Atalanta is obviously a massive game, and it's very possible that Ancelotti was saving Asensio. What a phrase to say! Imagine if you had told us in the summertime there would be a situation where Ancelotti was saving Raul Asensio for Atalanta in a huge game. You'd be like, "What? What are you talking about?" So
big relief time. I missed this. So Ancelotti did mention that Mendy is definitely out versus Atalanta.
That's your relief? That's dark. That's dark.
Let me finish. Bellingham is available. That's my relief.
That's your relief.
I phrased that. That wasn't intentional.
We know what you meant, bro. We see your Mendy tweets. Yeah, obviously a huge relief to not lose Bellingham.
And I think Vinicius is also coming back for that game.
Yeah.
That's the plan, at least.
Yeah. I just can't say enough good things about Jude Bellingham. I think this season would look way worse than it already is without him.
Yeah.
I think he's been one of our constant performers. Of course, those who do not watch Real Madrid and just look at the numbers, and I'm talking about Premier League fans, will think that he was bad all season and only started to play good when he started scoring a few games ago, which obviously is not true. He's been great all season.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see him finally start getting some goals. I'm sure that's not the top of his priority list, but I think it's good because he's being rewarded for doing a lot of positive things like attacking those second balls and getting on the ends of those chances. The other one I wanted to highlight was Luka Modric.
Yes, I was just getting to it.
So he had one sequence early on where he lost possession. He kind of got bullied off the ball, and then Girona break, and then they get past him one more time on the same sequence, and they had a chance to score. After that, I thought he was fantastic. I thought his incisiveness, his through balls, his patience, his vision. He had a couple of really nice counter pressing sequences that led to great chances. One of them, the Mbappe chance in the right half space in the first half. And then the second one was the one that led to Bellingham's
assist, Arda's goal, basically.
No, well, that was the pass, but he was involved in all three goals.
Yeah.
On the first goal, it was him intercepting the ball out of the back, winning the ball, which led to Bellingham eventually scoring. Yeah.
And we have to talk about Luka Modric because, like, as you said, at the beginning of the game, we were discussing, like, his touch looks a little bit off these days, but he picked it up so quickly. And, like, the pass to Mbappe's goal was just vintage Modric. He knew how long to wait to release the ball. He knew that he didn't really have to give it back to Goulet, who was also close by. Mbappe was making the run, and then that pinpoint out of the boot, sorcery or whatever he does with that. And good finish from Mbappe as well. I'm pretty sure we'll get to that as well. Modric had amazing numbers. I don't have it on my screen right now, but he had amazing numbers, like I think most touches than anyone on the pitch, and obviously the assist to Mbappe's goal. This was a game I was skeptic about at first when he started ahead of Ceballos, but he did like classic Modric stuff.
Well, let's look at the numbers. 121 touches, most of anyone in the field. 4 key passes, most of anyone in the field.
100 passes.
100, but he also has long. When I checked at halftime, his long balls looked solid too. Finished the game 8 of 10 completed long balls. That's a very solid number. Fede had 4 interceptions. Rudiger 5 clearances. So, I just wanted to mention too, I don't think anyone answered your question on YouTube when you asked them, do we sound okay? They're just fighting about Mendy and Tchouameni and Raul Asensio, it seems like. So I don't know. So I assume because no one's complained about the audio, or they're not even paying attention to us anyway. So we're just talking to ourselves. They're like, we don't care. We're just here to argue with other people. It's funny because when I was watching the first half, my main takeaway at halftime was that Bellingham was awesome. And I wasn't thrilled about our performance collectively. Mm-hmm. You and I were talking during the game about, you mentioned the fact that we scored 8 goals past these guys over 2 games in La Liga last year. Yeah. And we were much more compact at that stage in counterattack, particularly the game in Girona. Yeah. And I thought in this game, they were so easily bypassing our press. In air quotes. It was not great. And there was like maybe one good pressing sequence overall, and they still were so composed playing out of that. And you and I were talking on a drive yesterday about like how there are so many teams that are inferior to Real Madrid in talent who are just so much more comfortable playing out of pressure and invite and beta press, and Girona are one of them. And I think even like when Girona had the ball in the final third through slower build-up sequences, we were just so late with our defensive rotations, and someone would step up and then Girona would have an open man and they would just find the open pass and they would eventually get into the box or the half space. And it just didn't look great. And you and I were talking like, part of the reason we were so efficient and lethal against Girona last season was because we were more compact. We sat a little bit deeper. We didn't press and we just murdered them in transition.
So for Real Madrid, the pressing is bad on 2 levels. First of all, we don't press that well ourselves, and we ourselves are not that elite getting out of a very good press either. So if you're either of those two things, you can impose a certain style on an opponent, which Real Madrid at this point in time is not always able to do. And to the point that, the teams that are able to bypass Real Madrid's, again, in air quotes, press, is, Kian, so pressing does take a certain level of sacrifice and from the squad in terms of building up those tendencies. And when I mean sacrifice, I mean like sometimes they probably have to give up on results even for the time it takes to build up on those tendencies. And at Real Madrid, probably we talk a lot about the press, but probably we can never allow that sacrifice at Real Madrid because we are always looking for those results. And for someone like Ancelotti, it's probably easier to focus on the kind of tactics he already has rather than have the time to build up on those tendencies.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure like if he
and it's
wanted
difficult to do mid-season.
Yeah, mid-season,
and it was hard for him to implement that in the summer for obvious reasons.
Obviously.
The preseason was preseason was just Castilla 11 basically.
And whenever he tried to do that, the signs were not really extensively encouraging either. Remember when he first came back in 2021, we went with that gung-ho press for just a little bit.
Yeah,
and I think it was the Sheriff game when he said like, all right, that's it. Like we're not pressing.
I think it was Shakhtar.
Yeah, and then he bulldozed Shakhtar on the counter the next game. So all of those things like play into account when we're talking about the press. But I think we just got to ride it out. It is what it is. Our pressing is the ceiling of our press is going to be pretty low regardless.
Yeah. What else stood out to you?
Let me quickly look at some stats over here. What was our XG today? It should be out by the time.
Check Mark's stat spot. I can check it here. While I'm trying to find that and bring it on the screen here, I will also just mention that Tchouameni center back thing. You kind of touched on it briefly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because at center back, he doesn't have to do a lot of the things he does at DM, which is track runners and be vital in protecting zone 14. He's already kind of in position. I think he looks better at center back than he does at DM.
So my understanding of this is whenever a player is not doing well with the expansive freedom Carlo allows his players, I think shortening his scope of freedom is one way to dealing with it. And obviously, when you bring Tchouameni back from CDM to center back, that scope of freedom is like truncated by itself because a center back's positioning is much more truncated than that of a central defensive midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
And also some of the decision making that Tchouameni has to make on the fly as a DM, he has been struggling with those. Like his decision making, his target of outlets with his passing hasn't been elite this season. So I think if I were to like start Tchouameni, I would rather have him start at center back than DM at this moment because Mbappe hasn't been doing enough in the final third. We need as much creative support we can. We afford to at the middle of the pitch, and I think some of the other guys, Camavinga, Sebas, whoever, Modric, whoever, we can plug into the midfield instead of Tchouameni would help at this point.
Thoughts on Mbappe?
Like, there was a tweet that said another stinker with the goals or / assist.
Yeah.
I think that's probably pretty accurate because we didn't really see him doing any otherworldly stuff in this game apart from the goal. He got another similar chance off of a similar pass from Modric after the goal as well, but the angle was probably a bit tight for that anyway.
It was a similar angle, but
yeah. But the finish was encouraging because he has been missing from these kind of positions or probably even better angles a lot. So this was a PSG Kylian Mbappe finish, if I may.
I think he's better the more difficult the chance.
I mean,
maybe it's because it's just lower expectations.
It could be, but the thing is, I think he has taken the most shots in La Liga.
His shot volume is high.
Is very
So
high.
is his dribbling rate. His attempted take-ons. Those are very high numbers. Last time I checked, and this was like a week or two ago, he was top 5 in the Big 5 leagues in successful take-ons.
Successful
take-ons, but I wrote about this. A lot of this is just him doing his thing where he just cuts in and out of like from a deeper position without actually dribbling past anyone. These count as a successful dribble. So it wasn't like the surgical, Vinny like line breaking kind of dribble. But
I would be interested to see, Kian, what would happen if, like, at some point this season, Carlo would go back to sitting deep and hitting the counter scheme. I think
he's getting there slowly,
Yeah.
but it's not an overnight thing. I just feel like if you track it almost game to game, it's kind of just gradually, incrementally going into a lower block. Not quite a deep low block. We talked about this last night a little bit, but I think it is kind of inevitable. But I do think in Mbappe's case, if we're talking about today's performance, it was fine. Maybe the standards are so low at this point. The standards were so high that him playing well was not like even registered as a good performance. Now the standards are so low that if he just does like one or two things, we like get excited because there's maybe signs of life there. The goal, he did take the goal well. The handball breakaway miss, the commentator was trying to convince us that he missed it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that commentator like received a DM from Mbappe's mom and like said, "Go easy on my son." But I was like, thank God that was a handball because that was another shocking miss.
And I've made my peace like that. Like, I seriously want to believe that he missed it on purpose, because if he did not, then like, what are we even doing here? Like, what is he even doing here? So the other thing about Mbappe, like even holistically, we talked a lot about Mbappe last night as well. Like, if you look back at some of his performances, and why I was talking about going back into a deep block, he had some genuinely good dribbling sequences when we were in a deep block, like getting out of the press and like doing some PSG Mbappe things and like hitting the run. Off late, he just hasn't been able to do that because we have been playing a bit higher anyway. So I would be interested, because now that he's scoring, like he scored like I think 2 times in the last 4 games. So if his dribbling gets a little bit more impressive, if we go back into a deep block or not, and when we have Vinicius back as well, because if you have Vinicius and Mbappe together, both of them from a deeper position just have a little bit more space, because defenders have to be occupied with both of them anyway.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see if he continues in this vein of form, what happens. One thing I would say, he did look a touch more confident than what he looked against Athletic Club, because that was probably the lowest he could be anyway. So anything is better than that.
He looked more confident after the goal he scored.
Yeah.
Like he started to like play with a little bit of swag.
He was trying to fight with the referee for
at halftime.
Halftime for what now? I don't know.
I'm still not entirely sure what that was about.
Was it because like he was trying to defend Carlo or something? Because Carlo got a yellow card.
Couldn't tell you. I'm out of the loop on that one. We're probably going to do an Atalanta preview, which maybe we'll do on Monday. So we have time to talk about it still. But I just off the top of my head, Atalanta are in really good form.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, they have a playing style that suits us, in that they are an aggressive team and they will have space to attack in transition. The problem is these theoretical situations that are supposed to be good for us, we haven't taken advantage of this season.
Oh.
And on paper, you look at Vinny and Mbappe, and then you look at a high line and you're like, this is great. But we still haven't really seen the team exploit those situations yet.
Exactly, because in theory, Barcelona and Liverpool were supposed to be really good matchups for us, because they do, impose that high press. Liverpool probably not so much as Barcelona, but Barcelona we were thinking before the Barcelona game that this is tailor-made for us. And for the first half, it actually was. So my thinking for the Atalanta game is probably if they are that gung-ho press, high-pressing team, leaving a lot of space behind the defense, Real Madrid have to be really good with taking their chances in the first half, taking their chances early in the game as soon as they get them. Because if you let these teams, because we might think that all right, at one point they would tire off. That never happens really, especially this season. So uh, if that happens, Madrid has to take their chances because there will be chances. Vinny and Mbappe will be at the end of those chances. They just need to take them. I have confidence in them. Like if Vinny gets 3 of those, he'll probably at least take 1 of them. Uh, Despite today's goal, I'm not really sure if I have that confidence on Mbappe in Europe at this point in time.
Do you have any other? I found them. Just looking at Carlos' quotes. Rodrigo was not feeling well. We preferred to leave him in Valdebebas to work. I think he will be available. That's good news because there were some reports in Spain that he might miss up to 4 games, which obviously seems a little bit more of a pessimistic outlook compared to what it actually is. You mentioned the Asensio quote. Arda Güler. Arda struggled a bit to get into the game. In the second half, he made a fantastic run, a fantastic goal. He worked hard, ran a lot. The goal took a bit of pressure off him. He's a youngster who has a lot of pressure around him, and this goal did him good.
I think the first half thing that Carlo was mentioning, I do agree with that.
Yeah.
When he was basically playing in Fede's usual position because Fede was playing in a double pivot today.
Yeah.
So Carlo's default expectation is that you cover a lot of ground for your fullback, which Arda initially in the first half wasn't able to do. He was a bit more central. And even Vasquez was in default Fede Valverde mode. He was a lot narrow, expecting that Arda would cover that space, but there was a gap between Arda and him. But in the second half, it got better. It definitely got better.
So I don't know. Is it possible for bots to take a nap? Because Mark Stat's bot hasn't tweeted in 3 hours. I hope he's okay. I hope Mark.
He just probably didn't hit his code for the Madrid game.
All right, Mark Stats. I hope your bot is okay, bro. We miss you. You're not present, but we're gonna look at the shot chart here quickly together on YouTube. So, this is the Tchouameni header.
Yeah.
50th minute. Modric set piece, which is a very good set piece by Modric. Very good off-ball run from Tchouameni to shake his man, stay onside.
Yeah.
Just tried to flick it into the net, and it was saved. It was an incredible save, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then we had the Mbappe chance that you mentioned in the right half space. It was pretty much identical position to the one he scored.
The La Liga,
slightly different.
Well, actually, the one he missed was even on a better position, to be honest.
Yeah.
In a more open angle.
Lower XG, though.
Yeah. But La Liga put his goal at a 0.17 XG. This one has it at 0.19. Pretty close, but yeah, it was still a very low XG chance to take and score a goal from it.
We held Girona to 0.35 XG. And I think part of it is that we conceded space, but we didn't concede clear-cut chances for whatever reason. And part of it will be down to Girona's final execution, not getting a shot off from a good angle. Or getting a shot.
Just shut down everything that was thrown at him.
Right. I mean, we didn't mention Courtois. And I feel bad because I feel like there are a lot of games where we just don't mention him because we're another guy we're desensitized to. Like, it's incredibly rare that Courtois does something bad, right?
Yeah.
And so another game where Courtois played really well. And
Courtois is in his Toni Kroos arc right now. Like every game is a masterclass, so that no game gets talked about.
Yeah, and also I think part of it is that goalkeepers unfortunately just don't get as much praise as other players who do things in the outfield. Yeah, Courtois, another great game. Cool. Anything else that we missed? How long? We have a super chat. We're 30 minutes into the podcast.
I think we can take super chats. I don't think we missed anything except for the Enric concussion thing. He had a head injury at the very last moments of the game. I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
Because head injuries are always to be taken very, very seriously, especially if the player is this young. So hope Enric is okay.
Nishlish Patel says Brian Gil fouled Mbappe, which wasn't called by Gil Lanzano. Arguing with the ref at halftime, both Mbappe and Carlo booked for that. So that's clarification on the
Okay.
Mbappe incident at halftime.
Okay.
So
A nice touch on how you mentioned Brian and Hill, because like they're both.
that's why I used first and last names when I was reading this, because I knew what he was alluding to. Yeah, I mean, I don't got anything else. Do you?
No, Kian, that's pretty much it. Again, thanks for coming down to Toronto. Hopefully, we'll get to do this again before the Montjuic Classical, and hopefully that would be tons of fun as well, just as last night was.
Montjuic Classico in May.
Yes.
The weather will be good in Toronto. We'll be doing an event. We might do 2 events.
Yep.
And we're
That's on the cards.
We're working on it. We're working on coming to Toronto twice a year. The pickup footy in December, we're going to continue as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was that was so much fun.
Amazing.
That was so much fun. I'm so grateful for you guys.
So the real Bellingham scored today. Our pickup footy Bellingham also scored 7 or 8 goals last night. So shout out to you as well, bro.
Had some talented players come out last night. I was impressed. It was really good to play some footy with you guys. I think next year we might actually have a trophy.
Yeah.
Have an organized tournament.
Yep.
Maybe up the ante a little bit.
Champions League trophy.
Mini Champions League trophy. Yeah, we're gonna do it big. We're gonna improve it every year. This was a kind of a trial run, and I think we're gonna learn from it every year.
Exactly.
Mehdi and I were reflecting and writing down all the things we need to improve on, and come back every single year stronger and better. So tomorrow is Sunday. We have a day off of podcasting. On Monday, we will kind of combine El Dia Después and the Atalanta preview. If you guys want access to that, go to patreon.com/managingmadrid, or just simply hit join on the YouTube channel. Same content. You don't have to sign up for both. Just sign up for one or the other. It's up to you. Some people don't have Patreon in their countries, so they sign up on YouTube memberships instead. And grateful for all of you. Thank you guys for tuning in live. I hope you guys continue your arguments in the chat elsewhere. Please exchange contact information. For those of you guys who are yelling about Mendy and Tchouameni and whoever else you're yelling about in the chat, make sure you have a place to go argue afterwards, okay? So you guys are not stranded arguing with your stranger friends. All right, guys, peace out.
Take care, everyone.
Hala Madrid.